Richard already introduced Mr. Martin Naef in a very, very nice way. I will just add some words. Mr. Naef is, as already stated, brilliantly re-elected member of Swiss Parliament last Sunday. He's a member of the Social Party here in Switzerland. And aside from that, and it is even more important for us, for us Europeans, pro-Europeans, he is the co-president of the New European Movement Switzerland, which is our mother organization of the Young European Federalists Switzerland. And yes, as I already said, I'm very much looking forward to Martin's point of view and views on how Switzerland and Swiss federalism can bring something to the European Union. Martin, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary, for these nice introductions. As well to you, Richard. Dear friends, cari amici, chers amis, liebe Freundinnen und Freunde. First of all, I apologize for my English. It's not that brilliant than Richard's is. I'm just a lawyer, not a scientist, and a Swiss politician. And our language, of course, are German, French, and Italian. But I try my best. So, well, it's a great honor to be here tonight and having the opportunity to speak to you. First of all, because I spent many hours in this room as a student, and I received my graduation documents here, and it's the first time for me being able to speak from this place, the place where nobody would not mention this, where Winston Churchill held his famous speech after the war about Europe. So it's quite an honor to be here tonight at this place. And first of all, it's an honor to see you, all of you, as young people, European Federalists. I think we are very near to you, and it's a great pleasure to have you here all, even Switzerland, even we are, well, especially because we are not members of the European Union this time. So, as a member, you mentioned this, of the Committee for Foreign Affairs of the National Council, and as president, as what you mentioned, of the New European Movement, I'm very honored. And it's a very special thing because there was a big German newspaper who wrote, whoever speaks about Europe in this country is politically dead. Well, I'm still alive, as you mentioned, and well. So, the way we look at Europe, we Swiss, is quite similar to the way, it seems to me, to the way we look at Germany, the big canton we call Germany, or the big brother. We feel small and a little bit afraid, because Germany and even Europe is quite similar to us. There are some federal constructions, there's a divided sovereignty, or not even this. But we wait for the day that Europe joins Switzerland more than we hope that we would ever join Europe. That's a little bit the Swiss thinking of the things. Because we think that we are very specially federalists in Switzerland, and we are very, very democratic. It's two people that think that they are their own democrats in the world. It's the Swiss on one hand, and it's the Greek, because they invented it. So that's our way of thinking. And the first thing we learn in here about constitutional law is that the Swiss idea of state is based on three principles. It's democracy, federalism, and the rule of law. And we learn as well that the democratic principle is above the two others. So, you can see this in the fact that there is no constitutional jurisdiction in Switzerland. So the parliament can do whatever it wants, theoretically, and the people, of course, anyway. That's our thinking. On the other hand, we are, first of all, citizens of a community, locals, then of a canton, and then of Switzerland. You can see this, there's always three flags. And you see, it's three flags: the community, the canton, and the country. People can take the referendum against parliamentarian decisions, or can create changements of the constitution by popular initiatives. But as well, the cantons, they are part of the decisions on a federal level, because you need a majority, not just by the people, but by the cantons as well, when you want to change the constitution. And of course there is a Senate, which has exactly the same competences as the House has, where I'm part of it. And they have a huge number, the cantons, of own competences in education, healthcare, etc. And they think, the cantons, that they have an own sovereignty. In fact, they have a regional corporation idea with own competences, but there are no states. In the discussions about Europe, there is much about, there was in the pre-election phases, much about terms like sovereignty, independence, freedom, neutrality, of course, and democracy. Now, the idea of democracy would be, this is my thinking, that those who are affected by a decision are the same than those who take it. Now, as you know, it took very long time until the women in this country got the right to vote. In the most cantons and communities, the huge number of people without a Swiss passport still do not have this right, not even on the local level. The idea of sovereignty, from my point of view, is quite the same. You are sovereign once you take part in decisions you are affected of. Many of the decisions taken in Brussels affect us, but we don't want to have the opportunity to take part in these decisions. We decided to stay out, as you know. So the Swiss invented the term autonomer Nachvollzug. This means we do everything that the European Union decides, but we pretend it was our own decision. So that is not really sovereign, dear friends. I cannot accept that. And for this reason, I think we should become part of the European Union one day. This would be a win-win situation as well, I think, for Europe. Because I seriously think that Europe as well could learn from Switzerland. Europe has, from my point of view, a problem with the principle of subsidiarity. This means that a decision should be taken on a level where it makes sense. You must not decide, as the famous example, not decide for whole Europe in Brussels whether a bottle of olive oil on a restaurant table must be closed or not. There is no ordinary transfer of money. We have seen this in the Greek crisis within the European Union in favor of weak economies, like we have it in Switzerland. And Europe runs more and more in a problem with its democratic legitimation. As Europe was obviously, necessarily, an elite project after the war, it probably forgot the people after all these years. It was the plan to create economical facts, and the rest will grow like this. So with the common currency. I know that democracy, especially the direct one, our system, is sometimes terrible. As a Swiss, I surely know. But, to a citation from Winston Churchill, there is just no better system than democracy. So Europe should not be afraid, because people's decision can also, we know this as well, strengthen the system. Now, independence. How can a state, whatever, in the 21st century be independent? Especially when it gains half of its money like Switzerland abroad. It is another lie in Switzerland to ourselves. So let me finish with this. I'm convinced that we must give all our common political energy to reconstruct this Europe we love in a more federalist and democratic way. And so I thank you all for your energy, your power, and I'm ready to take any questions now.
Exactly. Yeah. Now it's working. Thank you, Martin. So who wants to break the ice?
course. Hello, my name is David, I'm from Germany, and I think those who are interested in European policy or in European politics has had a strange look at the Swiss elections in the last week, I guess, and the strengthening of the populistic rights, and especially of the guy from the Weltwoche, who is sitting regularly in German television on Saturday evening, and I think everybody's concerned about that, and perhaps you can say a little bit about that. You've mentioned a lot of positive aspects about the way of Switzerland into the European Union. I think there are a lot of people who are not that positive about that, and how is Switzerland going to cope along with that? Thank you.
Well, let's say something. First of all, it's the House and it's the Senate. And in the Senate you don't have the same results. We don't know because there are some, it's not always clear, but there will be from 46 deputies, sort of 6 from the SVP, from the Conservatives. On the other hand, there were many congratulations to the SVP success by the AfD, the Alternative for Germany, by Madame Le Pen from France, but you can't compare the system exactly, because the SVP is a very traditional party with many different faces. So I would not be that afraid, but of course I was not amused on Sunday. Here in Zurich, my party, the Social Democrats, won 2 seats in the House, so it's not, so feel welcome in Zurich anyway. But I would not be that afraid. So we will see, we have, in our system, we have to find a solution and we have to take the people with this. So my point of view, there will be referendums, there will be public votations, so we can probably solve the problem that we have with this success by the SVP. I'm not that it was terrible, I know, but as Rachel mentioned, it's when you just look at the percentages, it's not that horrible. It's 11 seats in the House, but it's sort of 2% more or something like this. So what I always say, well, look, 70% of the Swiss people did not vote for SVP. So I'm a part of those, and as you mentioned, this is a very stable system, the Swiss system, so there will not be any earthquakes, so, or we run into dictatorships or something. I'm not that pessimistic, but of course it was not my day on Sunday, part of the results of myself and the results of my party here in Zurich.
Thank you very much. I have actually a question to both speakers. I'm not sure, I'm very sorry, it's a bit strange now, but I'm not sure about the surname, but Mr. Richard, I guess. So you are here on behalf of not only Switzerland, but also Liechtenstein. And I'm really wondering, because one of my best friends, I'm studying at the College of Europe, one of them is from Monaco and another one from Andorra, so you maybe know what I'm going to talk now. So I'd like to know maybe your opinion. How do you feel in the future the role of these very small states in the European integration process, since they are very small also in terms of financial and personal resources? So how they could contribute to unification of Europe and to federal Europe in the future? And the second question to Mr. Naef. I think the surname now is fine. You are from socialist environment, and I'm really wondering about your opinion, because I'm from Slovakia, and maybe you heard our Prime Minister and Social Democrats regarding the solution for migration crisis in Europe. They were very against. So how do you feel if there is still a unity of socialist family on European level, or would you say that under the pressure of populists and nationalists, even in Eastern European countries, we are losing somehow the common voice of social democrats in Europe? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. My surname is Jones, very easy to remember. It's the second most common. I'm a very common person. But anyway, frankly, I don't know very much about the countries that your friends come from. I know that, that the European Union is exploring a new sort of relationship with countries like that. I mean, countries of that size, it's clearly very, very difficult for them to become full members of the European Union. And this is something that I discuss with friends in Liechtenstein a lot. I mean, Liechtenstein is a country of 36,000 people, so it's the fourth smallest in Europe. And they know that they can't cope with the burdens on their government and politicians that the membership of the Union would bring with them. The same would apply to Andorra, Monaco, and San Marino as well. But what the Union is doing is trying to modernise the relationship with those countries, and there are active discussions going on there. With Liechtenstein, obviously Liechtenstein is a member of the European Economic Area, along with all 28 member states and Iceland. And the fundamental message of that for Liechtenstein is that it's absolutely great. They get direct access into the single market, which is really good for their economy. They're actually one of the most industrialized countries in Europe, believe it or not. I think they're the chief supplier in Europe of false teeth. And the chances are that the steering wheel of your car may have been made in Liechtenstein. So they have a real industrial sector, and they can, as I say, export directly into the single market by virtue of their EA membership. And this they regard as an enhancement of their sovereignty, which comes back to what Martin was making earlier in his remarks about the difficulty, if you preserve your sovereignty by staying out, the difficulty that brings with it. So I hope that goes some way to answering your question. Thanks.
So concerning the migration question or the refugees question, first of all, this is Zurich, and Zurich has a great, big, long tradition of being open for refugees from all over the world. My grandmother was from Italy. She came before the war. Her father was in the socialist movement in Italy, and they had to flee from the fascists in the 20s. Like many people from Germany came here as well. So this country was built up by migration as well. It was built up by refugees as well. Even our economy, very of the most popular concerns in Switzerland are built by refugees or migrants. When I talk with our president, who is for this year, Mrs. Sommaruga, she told me once she is part of that. We are associated members of the Schengen-Dublin system. This means you can, as a Swiss minister, you can go to their decision process, but you don't decide. You have to leave the room before. But she always says that the horrible thing is that no matter which party is concerned, whether the Minister for Interior Affairs is a socialist or is a conservative, everybody in Europe looks just like egoism for ourselves. Don't come to us. It's a pity, but it's so. On the other hand, Europe has 550 million of inhabitants. When you look at the actual situation, we're talking about maybe 500,000 or maybe 1 million of refugees. And so the sentence of Mrs. Merkel, wir schaffen das, we solve this, must be the guidelines for our policy towards the refugee problem. Never forget, in Turkey there are 2 million refugees. In Jordan or in Lebanon, in Lebanon every third person is a refugee by now. And they can handle it, so why shouldn't we handle this? So never forget, we need that subject. It's not we that have a problem, it's them. So.
I used to be vice president of this organization until very recently. I have a question for Mr. Naef. The work plan of JEF Europe for this year is called Europe 2.0, Democracy Upgraded. And I was wondering if you would be willing to share with us experiences you have with direct democracy, which you think could be useful on the European level as well. And specifically, maybe we can discuss about the European Citizens Initiative in this respect, how you see this potentially improved in the future.
Can you maybe say something about what means 2.0? Is it electronic voting system?
Well, the electronic
Maybe
voting
internet-based
system was part of our work plan and the attention we had, but the bigger question is how can we actually, what you rightly pointed out, the problem of democratic legitimacy in the European Union, how can, for instance, direct democracy methods contribute to overcoming these difficulties?
I mean, there are some moves concerning the implementation of more democratic processes, as you know, in the European Union, like this possibility, which is quite new, of a people's initiative. Very difficult to improve this all over Europe. And there are some direct democratic structures in some countries, and I think this must grow. Never forget, when we talk about Switzerland and the European Union, the way Switzerland is organized today, with those democratic structures, with that, there was a very long process, even the common currency, and you have all different cultures, different religions. You know, there was a civil war in Switzerland in 1847, this, not really a big war, but it was a civil war. And so to improve all these structures and these tiny things that our democracy is based on, that's why I said I think it's a stable system, after all. It took 150 years. So it's not those processes, they go not from today to tomorrow. And I think that in Europe we should first of all maybe make some more experiences based on the local level. In Germany it's sometimes possible, and this must grow from bottom to the top. Can go well. We do some public referendums by now for all Europe. That would be quite dangerous maybe. And it's always, I'm always wondering when I speak with colleagues from Germany, it's a big topic, especially on the left side of the political spectrum, so-called Bürgerbeteiligung, so means sort of direct democracy. And they're very interested and always, well, how do you handle this, etc. Very, very interesting. And there are some good examples. Switzerland has been the first country that had a public votation for gay rights, I mean, same marriage rights, etc. And we won this. Nobody would have, now it's Ireland on the top of this list, but there are some good examples. But immediately there are, well, and what about the minarets or so? So when you have this system, you have to face that sometimes it's really embarrassing what comes out of this. So people are very happy with it, or very interested in, but, well, can get wrong. But even if you have a representative system, a parliamentarian system like Germany or France or so, well, it can be terrible. I'm not really looking forward to the next presidential election campaign in France, for example. We all don't know what happens, so I think, after all, it's a good system that should come from the bottom to the top, that can legitimate positive processes, after all. Look at Switzerland, it's not that bad. But, well, it's work to do. And you have to sort of have a laboratory, how to think about these processes. You just can't come and say, well, now it's direct democracy all over Europe. This would not function. I'm convinced. But more, I mean, what you can do to improve the democratic processes in Europe is as well to strengthen even more than it was made yesterday, the role of the Parliament, of the European Parliament. As you could see in the Greek crisis, it was always the national governments, and that's a pity in a way. And the problem is, what people don't understand in Europe sometimes, it's the problem to solve crisis is not in the structures in Brussels. It's the renationalization of the political processes. It's the nationalism that comes up, and that's the problem, not Brussels, and not these bottles of olive oil.
Hi, my name is Camilla Stella, and I'm from Norway.
Hello.
I could relate to many of the things you said in your speech about the political situation here in Switzerland when it comes to Europe. And I think there are many similarities to the Norwegian situation, as both of their countries are non-EU members. So my question is the following. Do you have one main argument or catchline that we can present to all these young people that we meet every day that actually believe that we're better off outside?
So I didn't get the last sentence.
What can we tell these people that think we are better off outside of the Union?
Yeah, the only argument is, as I mentioned before, it's sort of what we do in Switzerland, especially because we think that this democratic system would never cannot be done within the structures of the European Union. You mentioned Liechtenstein, for example. Liechtenstein is, like Norway, a part of the European economic space, huh? And for 22 years, it was 1992. And the colleague that is concerned in Liechtenstein to get all the European law decisions within national law. She told me once, the Swiss always think there will be no public votations anymore. It was 2 times a problem in these 23 years. 2 times really a problem where there was a conflict between a public votation in Switzerland, and there were hundreds of public votations, and the European law. 2 times. It was 2 times popular initiatives by the left. It was about how do you say that? Genetic modification, right? And it was about transportation, whether on the railway through the Alps. 2 times. But we had the conflict anyway. So both of these public initiatives, they were not improved really. It was 2 times. And for all the rest of hundreds of thousands of public votations in Switzerland, well, it's quite the same. So, as I mentioned in my speech before, it's not, when we go further, you know, there's all these questions for Switzerland about institutional sort of agreement with the European Union to accept as well the decisions made by the court, the European court, etc. It's very difficult to win this in the public votations. But after all these years, when you have hundreds of agreements with the European Union, you must stop one day to lie to yourself. When, after all, it's just the only difference between being a part or not is just not to take part in the decisions in Brussels. So I must say, this is not really a proud people that is lying to itself. So the key message is, I want to be part of the decisions.
So we have time for one more question, and I've seen you raising your hand for quite a while now, so there you go.
Good evening. I'm Nelson from JEF Italy, and I noticed in both of your speeches you spoke about the common values of Europe and Switzerland. You didn't spoke about language or ethnicity or culture, and I think that's true. That's the right thing to say. You spoke about the true common values. You spoke about freedom. You spoke about democracy. You spoke about social justice and a check and balance system based on the subsidiarity system. And that's what comes from a country which is already a federal country and can understand how really Europe has to be built. So what I think is also that this Europe is not able to enforce these kind of values yet. Since the institutional framework is not complete. So my question would be, would you join a Europe which is entirely federal as a single federal state of the European Federation?
I certainly would, but concerning the values, there are contradictions in European policy as well in Swiss policy. I'll give you one example. We talk about now, even the right wings, about more help for people instead of being refugees coming to Europe, more help for the people, for example, in Turkey, in Jordan, etc. And on the other hand, together with the United States, we have our responsibility to having created such a system like in Syria, or a situation like in Syria. So we Swiss, we do weapon exportation to the Arab state and the Gulf, etc. And on the other hand, we say, well, those contradictions I do not understand. So we have to get more than the economic-based idea of Europe, to rebuild a value-based idea of Europe, together with the Conseil d'Europe, with the European Council in Strasbourg. And we have to really point at those values. And I'm sure that those values are still attractive ones. But we have to get away from all these contradictions in our policy. And there is no common foreign policy in Europe, as you know. That's a pity, a value-based foreign policy of Europe. This must be one of our aims. We have to go for this. And you told me a short answer, so maybe the last question is what time starts the aperitif? So see you there, and we can discuss more there if you want to. Thank you very much.
Let me thank you very much for your very nice and inspiring speech on behalf of JEF Europe. I'm no more JEF president, but we have still not elected a new one, so I'm doing the interim. Thank you very much. Since you are still not part yet of the EU, we brought you a little bit of the EU taste with Belgian chocolate. So thank you very much.